What is up, guys? Part 9, Player's Handbook.
Bang bang!
Spellcasting. We did combat. There's not a whole lot different between the way spellcasting works in combat versus the way combat itself works. Casting a spell is an action. I guess we should just right off the bat, there are cantrips, which are your effectively level 0 spells. These were things in previous edition. They are now unlimited. They cover things from damaging type things, so your wizard doesn't have to try to hit something with a stick, to kind of flavorful things that have a lot of potential depending on how creative you are and how creative you are. So you have limited spells are much less. There are a lot less spells to be cast. The most you can ever have of a spell is 4 first level spells. Everything else is 3 or below. Only 1 9th level spell for any classes that gain access to them. Per day, I should say. You can learn multiple of those depending on how that works. If you do have a spell, since we just came off of the combat conversation, if you have a spell that uses a bonus action and you cast it as a bonus action, you can only cast a cantrip that turn for your regular action. You can't choose to cast a bonus action spell and then a regular action spell.
But cantrips are really solid.
Yes.
They progress in damage at the same point where you would get extra attacks, or where your attacks would do more damage as a melee caster, as a melee character. So I feel like in other versions where like level 0 spells, A, they were limited, and B, they weren't very good.
Yeah.
Here, cantrips are pretty solid. They're a solid attack option if you don't want to use a spell slot.
Yeah. Plus Eldritch Blast.
Eldritch Blast, get that.
Solid. Best cantrip. Well, best damage you can.
Well, Vicious Mockery. But I digress. One of the cool things that I liked about this version is it seemed like they condensed a lot of spells that it made sense to condense. So it's not like there is lesser healing or cure wounds. It's not light cure wounds and then cure wounds and then moderate cure wounds. It's just cure wounds. There's just one spell, and if you cast it out of a higher spell slot, it does more. It cures more.
Yep. That's the way it is with all spells. There's no caster level based things like that. If you have a spell that does 4d6 as a first level spell, it'll say some spells don't have anything for higher levels. They only work. You can cast them out of a higher level slot because you want to use it, but it doesn't actually do anything fundamentally different. It's just you're wasting a higher level slot to cast a lower level spell. But some of them might say at higher levels, and it might say this spell does an additional 1d6 damage for every spell level after second that it's cast. So you upcast something 9th level spell. It's a first level spell. Now you're doing 13d6 rather than 4d6.
Which is something to really look at if you are a warlock, because as a warlock you're always casting spells out of your highest level available slot.
Right. So it doesn't really make sense to pick a spell that doesn't do anything as it levels up if you're going to cast it at a 5th level. Ritual casting is a thing they added in this game, another clever way to get around the using of minimal spells. Certain spells are tagged as ritual spells, and what happens is, if you're a class that has access to ritual spell casting, some don't, so be careful. You can choose to add 10 minutes to the cast time, and it just doesn't take up a spell slot. You have to have access to that spell, whether you have to have it known or prepared that day. But yeah, it doesn't use up a slot. So like simple things like detect magic, you can cast that as a ritual, and you know what? It'll just take 10 minutes longer, and it lasts for 10 minutes, and now I don't use up a spell slot for that.
Or comprehend languages.
Comprehend language is another one. Leoman's Tiny Hut, if you're worried about someone attacking you in the night, gives you an 8-hour break. Alarm, another one, if you're worried about people attacking you.
Really good options.
I think there's a couple of good ones, like I think some of the detect poison or detect good and evil, those kind of ones are. Silence is a ritual, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I mean, silence has a lot of good benefits in combat, but I mean, I guess if you're sneaking, you make no noise, that could be useful.
Yeah.
What else we got? I don't know. Look at the page.
Cantrips, rituals, casting a spell, casting time.
Casting time, again, fairly simple. I guess components we talked about a little bit. Your options are similar to all previous editions: verbal, somatic, material. Obviously, somatic is your hands, verbal is your voice, material is some sort of actual object. A spellcasting focus gets rid of the need for material components unless they have a monetary gold value, which you actually need to have it.
Which it'll say in the actual spell. It'll say under material, like, an eye of a newt and a tail of a bad person and a jewel worth 50 gold. So if you have a spellcaster, you only need that jewel worth 50 gold.
Another thing to be mindful of, sometimes it doesn't use up the item. Like, if it says, like, you need a diamond worth 50 gold, if it doesn't say that that diamond is used up each time you cast it, having that one diamond allows you to cast that spell every time.
Yep.
If it says it's used up and you plan on using that multiple times, you're going to have multiple diamonds or you know, incense or whatever it is. And sometimes things have non-gold costs, but they get used up, where a material or a spellcasting focus eliminates the need for you to keep buying more.
Dead lizards.
Right.
Cat tears.
Yes, cat tears. Another thing to mention is there is no alignment restriction to any spells in this game.
Just solid.
Because a lot of the times you'd have to worry, like, oh, I'm a good cleric, I can't cast this spell because it's an evil spell.
Yeah.
That's not a thing anymore.
Talk about concentration.
Yeah, why don't you just, there's the 3 bold things about what happens to a concentration.
Some spells are labeled as concentration-based spells. There are... So they continue over a period of time, let's say 5 minutes. So you're casting the spell, you're concentrating on the spell for over 10 minutes. You cannot cast another spell that requires concentration in that time. So you only have one concentration spell going up at once. If you take damage, you're going to have to do a concentration check to see if you can keep that spell up or if you lose it. And if you get incapacitated or dead, then the spell stops.
Right, and there's something, what does it say for the damage, how that keeps it up?
It is, you must make a Constitution saving throw. The DC equals 10 or half the damage you take, whichever number is higher.
So this is when we mentioned that there is no concentration or constitution skills. This is that. So a lot of times people will try to find a way to get, if they're a class that uses a lot of buff-based spells that last over a long time, they'll try to gain proficiency in constitution somehow, so that has you know, it lasts longer.
Yeah.
See if there's anything on the next page there.
Targets, areas of effect, saving throws, attack rolls, combining magical effects.
Area of effect, not a big deal. I mean, cone, cylinder, cube, pretty self-explanatory.
There's a nice little wizard showing you a diagram.
It's true, he does that. And we kind of mentioned about attack rolls versus saves. If it's a spell attack roll, you roll a d20 plus whatever your spell attack save is, which is your spellcasting modifier plus proficiency bonus. If they have to make a save, it's 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your spellcasting mod, and the DM does the roll for the NPC. So that's the basics of spellcasting, and then the next rest of the book there is the lists of spells. Just take a look through. If you're used to a spell doing something, it might not do the same thing, or it might not be the same level that you're used to. Another thing is certain classes get access to certain spells that other classes don't. A lot of the named wizard spells, like Mordenkainen's this, or, you know, Melf's this, or Nistra's this, or whatever, are specific more to wizards. Bards get a lot more sound-based spells, and like glibness and things like that. Warlocks get those demonic spells I talked about. Paladins get all the smitey spells. The conjure spells are pretty specific, like conjure woodland creatures is a druid ranger one. So just, you know, take a look and see what, you know, you have. I mean, that may help influence if you're choosing, like, I want to play a class that can do this kind of magic. Take a look at the spells, because, you know, a bard might sound good, but at the surface there's not a lot of damage for a bard. You have to pick and choose your magical secrets to pick the spells you want.
Do you want to highlight some cantrips that are really useful that you might not think to take?
Yeah, probably some of the biggest, most useful cantrips you can look at are probably Prestidigitation, Minor Illusion, and Guidance is self-explanatory, but I'll come back to that, and Mending. Prestidigitation, for those of you who have played previous editions, was always one that could do a lot of cool things. Things that it can do in this game, You can heat up or cool down any non-living material, so food. You can also flavor food, and it lasts for like an hour. So like you have some shitty meat that you didn't want, now it tastes good.
Cumin.
Yep.
Magical cumin.
You can also use it to clean or soil something. I think you can also use it to create like puffs of smoke, and you can also use it to create like smells and things like that. And you could do multiple effects, so you could theoretically soil someone's pants and make it smell like they soiled their pants, and then be like, oh, look at this guy fucking shit his pants.
That guy.
That's the thing you could do.
Make it happen.
But things I've used it for to my advantage, you pick up like nasty, dirty armor off of a goblin or a hobgoblin or an orc, and you're like, I want this, but it's gross and it's covered in goblin guts. Well, prestidigitation. Now it's clean. Now I'll put it on.
Now it's mine.
You killed a bunch of guys and you're trying to sneak around. Well, there's blood on the ground. Prestidigitation. Now there's no more blood. Let's see. Mending can actually fix magic items, which is something. It'll fix a broken magic item if the magic isn't working.
That's a
It'll
different
fix
thing.
that. But okay, you're trying to you broke into someone's office and you broke open their chest, and then you took the stuff out of it. But you don't want them to know that right away. Well, mend the lock, mend the chest. Now they're just going to look at it and be like, oh, it's just my chest. They don't know that the stuff inside it was taken.
Yep.
You broke a lock, fix the lock. You had your rogue do that thing with tripwires where they use the little thing, they cut the tripwire, and now there's traps not there. Well, you move past it, mend the tripwire. Now if somebody sneaks up behind you,
boom,
they get stuck on the tripwire.
You find that gross corroded armor that goblin had, but it's broken because you put your axe through it.
Mending, prestidigitation.
You got some sweet armor.
Find a broken sword, you fix the broken sword.
I
mean, really, you just made freaking Aragorn's life a piece of cake. You mended freaking the shards of Narsil together, and you just made...
Done.
You're done.
You did. Cantrip. You can do as much as you want. Also, in the pre-written campaign that we've gone through, they've used it a bunch to help themselves. They were in a tunnel, and the door frame was collapsing, and if they open the door, the frame's going to collapse and do bludgeoning damage to them. Mending, door frame's fine. They just open the door.
Yep.
You go up to a corroded gate that if you don't pass a save with Thieves' Tool by a certain number, then the lockpick breaks out and you gotta bust it open, and if you bust it open, you get ambushed. Mending. Now it's just a lock that you pick.
Yep. There's a lot of... those kind of cantrips are really limited to your imagination.
Yeah.
How creative you can get with this. Another one is Minor Illusion. It can do all sorts of things. You can make a sound, or you can make an image. You can't do both, but you can do multiple instances. Okay, I'm standing here and you're there and I go, smoke bomb, and I use Minor Illusion and I make smoke. Smoke that has obscured me, that you can't see me. Now, you don't know that that smoke is an illusion. You just see smoke in front of you and you go, oh, he's probably gone. Or if you were to try and attack me, you would have disadvantage. Unless you were to think, wait a minute, maybe that's an illusion, and you try to use an intelligence save or whatever it is to pass to see that it's an illusion. Once you recognize that it's an illusion, you can see right through it and it does nothing. But until you know that that's an illusion and not actually actual smoke, you won't know any better.
Yep.
You're walking down a hallway and I'm hiding here and I make an illusory door or a wall, like just a brick wall. Unless you know to put your hand through it and realize it's an illusion, you're just going to walk right by and not think anything of it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you can do. You can do that kind of Obi-Wan, there's a sound over there. And then people will be like, oh, what's that? Let me go check that out. You know what? I saw a map. And maybe you have something where you always remember things that you've seen. And you get back to the town. And you're like, I wish we knew how to get there. And you're like, Minor Illusion, here's the map. This is what it looks like. This is where we need to go. You know what? We're trying to find somebody. Have you seen this person? This is who we're looking for. I mean, countless uses for these things. But it's all limited to your...
Or, if you wanted to make a deer, but with the face of a human baby, and the baby is crying.
But not...
You can do that, but you can't hear it. It's just the face of a shrieking baby on a deer's head. You can do that! Minor Illusion! Limitless possibilities!
Yep. And then Guidance is another one that I just recommend, because Guidance is an action and it adds a D4 to any ability check. So you have a cleric, you are a cleric, or you have access to, or you're a druid, you have access to guidance, whatever it is. I'm going to try and make a persuasion check. I cast guidance on myself, you make your roll, and then you roll a d4 and add that to it. When we mentioned a bounded accuracy system, anything that can give you a bonus to that is huge.
It's good.
I mean, in the game I was playing as my bard, I happened to roll a 20, but I also rolled a 4, so at level 3, I had a 30 on my persuasion check. Everybody listen to me.
Pretty good.
So, there's nothing also stopping you from constantly casting guidance on yourself every second in case you get into combat, because it's a d4 on your initiative roll.
Yeah.
Honestly, why wouldn't you do that? It does use up concentration, but you only need it to get into the combat, and then drop it.
Then you're done.
Because once it's been used, that's that.
All really cool stuff.
Yeah, cantrips worth checking out. Some are kind of trappy, though. I personally think True Strike is, not... for you yourself.
Yeah.
If you have somebody else that's going to cast True Strike on you, that gives you advantage, but they could also just use the help action.
Yeah. Well, with the help action, they have to be within 5 feet of you.
True.
Strike.
Touché.
Yeah.
Did you have any spells that you wanted to highlight as a favorite? Or ones that you think are pretty cool?
I feel like talking about higher level spells is cheating. Because
Oh.
the higher level spells are all really awesome. But Shape Change is awesome. It's a 9th level druid spell. Or I don't know if it's specifically druid, but druids get it. And you can shape change into anything with a challenge rating equal to your level. So if you think about it, a monster with a challenge rating of, let's say, 16 is a worthy challenge for 4 16th level player characters. That's how they create challenge level for 4. So you're basically multiplying your own power by 4. And I checked, and Ancient Bronze Dragons have a character, or a challenge rating of 20. So if you're a 20th level druid for, I think it was like an hour in a concentration check, you can turn into an Ancient Brass Dragon and wreck everyone!
Yeah.
So that's, I feel like the higher level spells, they're obviously awesome. And really looking at your cantrips is where you're going to find your everyday beneficial characters. And like you said, those are all great cantrips. Damagey cantrips, I talked about Vicious Mockery and Eldritch Blast are awesome. And Druidcraft. Or not Druidcraft. Shillelagh.
So, that's it for spellcasting. What's your favorite spell? I'm a big fan of Animate Objects, Legion of Forks.
Legion of Forks, dude, they own all the kobolds.
That's right. You think about that. That's it for spellcasting.
Woo! Hookers!